What if I told you that you can turn a man on without ever even touching him? What if I also told you this strategy is so powerful that you don't even have to dirty talk with him about anything? If you want to learn this powerful strategy, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing how to turn men on without ever even touching them. That way, you understand how to cast a spell over that man that will have him at your mercy, ready to do anything that you want. So let's imagine here, we're gonna make you nice and big because you're the main character. You're over here, so the man's here. There's a spiritual aspect to relationships and the way that you present yourself, which means there's a lot of things that go unsaid that we feel within our spirit and our soul that communicate to us certain different things about other people. And then we act on those thoughts or feelings. So what do I mean by that? Your walk is part of your aura, is part of your presence, that when you're in a room and you're maneuvering around a room, someone who doesn't know you and has never met you is using the aura that you have, the presence that you have, not nonverbal, right? To decipher, what are you about? How do you feel about yourself? Are you sexy? Are you attractive, right? They're using all of those context clues of your aura and your presence to decipher whether or not you're an attractive person. So the walk is part of that aura. We want your presence to be known from the very beginning before he even meets you. So the whole idea of this here and the walk, let's imagine you're going this way and you're heading to the bathroom. And you're heading to the bathroom here. And in the process of that, you identify the guy that you want to see you and notice you, okay? And this is the thing. Guys are hunters, okay, by nature. Meaning, when they go out into the wild, into the jungle, they don't hunt anymore. They just go to the club, okay? So when they go to the club, the bar, the restaurant, the whatever, they're going there and they're hunting. Meaning they're looking for potential partners, assuming that they're a single man, right? And they're looking for potential partners in scouting. Who are the most attractive women in this place here, okay? Who looks good, who doesn't look good, because he's deciding himself, do I want to come up to someone? Is someone feeling me? What is the vibe here? What are other people feeling? Do I want to talk to this person, have a conversation with this person? So he's always on the hunt. Men are looking and scouring the land anytime they go out to see who is who. Now, when you go out and you identify the guy that you want, you have to understand that he is going to be observing you, assuming you're an attractive woman, right? He's going to be observing who are the attractive women. You want to use this time period of him observing to give him your most confident and sexy walk. You want to strategically put yourself in his line of sight in a way that makes you look like you just happened to be in his line of sight. Oh, it was an accident that I walked by you and I look so mesmerizing and amazing. I look like a goddess that just fell down from the sky. It was an accident. I didn't even know you were there. You're at the same party as me. I didn't even see you there, right? That's what it's got to be. And the reason it's got to be like that is because we want him taking notice of you so that he's starting to say to himself, oh my goodness, who is that? I need to find out exactly who that is. So this process of you having that presence that makes him stop and stare is so important, okay? And some of you already know where I'm going with this, right? You kind of want to walk slower. You want to walk with more confidence. So what does walking with confidence mean, right? You want to back straight. If you got an arched back, it's not really going to be very attractive. It's not going to turn a lot of men on, right? You're going to look like a hunchback, right? We don't want you to look like that. We want you back straight. We want you walking with confidence, right? And this is where you're going to have to get good at practicing your strut, okay? So I know this is going to sound really weird and really strange coming from a guy because I'm a man, but you want to practice in the mirror or in your room your strut. So if there are particular shoes that you want to wear or heels or whatever that you want to wear out, you actually want to practice your strut in those shoes. And I know it sounds very silly, very childish, very comical, but you have to. If you're only wearing these shoes when you go out, then when you wear the shoes out, you feel uncomfortable, you feel awkward, and you don't know how to walk. This whole process of you having this nice seductive walk that he's so excited to come up to you and talk to you is not gonna work, okay? And you can't be trying to figure out how you're gonna do your walk on the fly, okay? Someone said, can you demonstrate? I'm not demonstrating the strut walk, okay? The supermodel walk. I can't do it, all right? I'd have to have one of you here to demonstrate the walk. But this is, as silly as it sounds, is such a critical part to doing this right, because we want you to have presence when you make this walk, right? You're only gonna get so many chances to do this, especially if this is a first impression. So this chance that you use to make this first walk should set the stage that you are indeed her. Let's go on to point number 2. Right way to do eye contact if you want to turn him on. You're holding gaze, but what you're not gonna do is you're not gonna stare blankly. Please do not go up to him, or when you're having a conversation with him, and hold your cup, right? Or hold your glass and you're just like, I think you're so attractive. I think you're so sexy. So I'm just gonna keep staring until you. The reason I say that, I'm not trying to be silly, I really mean it, because sometimes this can go overboard, where instead of you being seductive, you're actually being very scary. Please don't do that, right? So let's even get more specific. How long are you gonna hold this gaze for, okay? We're gonna go for 3, 2, 10 seconds, okay? Now, there's a very specific reason for that. I'm putting a range here, right? Depending on how you catch the gaze, whether it's gaze in a sense of having conversation or gaze in a sense of just passing by, this is gonna differentiate. Now, in this sense, where I'm talking about gaze, this gaze for 3 to 10 seconds is gaze when passing by. However, if you're in conversation with this man and you wanna turn him on, this gaze should be held, you hold it for the conversation, meaning the duration of the conversation, as long as he's directly talking to you, you look directly in his eyes, okay? I tell you all the time that the goal that you wanna be thinking of, the energy that you want to embody when you go out on your dates or when you're meeting men to really do what you want to do is to be a seductive therapist, right? And to be a sexy listener, so to speak. So as he's talking to you, that's the time where you want to be focused on eye contact. And even when you're communicating to him, you want to be focused on direct eye contact. Now, let me tell you something. For those of you who have not done this, this is going to feel very strange to you. To like really focus on holding your gaze with someone when you're having a conversation with them, this is gonna feel a little bit awkward. I'm gonna give you, oops, drop my pen here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a pro tip here on how to do this so right that you never make a mistake, because you can start fumbling and stumbling and do this very wrong. I'm gonna give you a little tip. I can't remember where I learned it, but this is a little tip as it relates to eye contact. You may or may not have heard this before, okay? You're gonna stare at the top of their nose, okay? So right where the forehead kind of meets the nose and the nose begins, right between their eyes, that's the place where you actually wanna be looking at. I know we're going deep into the weeds here, because this type of seduction, right, is always part of a very detailed strategy. When you're looking into someone's eyes and you're gazing into them and you wanna make it an intimate moment to really make him feel your energy, you want to be looking, the mistake that you might make is you're looking at one eye or the other, right? Because when someone says look into their eyes, you're actually looking at one of those eyes. The problem is, as you're looking at these eyes, you might not realize it, but this can be something you notice or observe of someone else looking at you. Tell me in the chat, have you ever been looking into someone's eyes and they're looking into yours? And when you're looking at their eyes, you're actually seeing their eyes shift back and forth, right? As they're looking at you. What's happening there, tell me in the chat if that's ever happening, what's happening there is they're actually looking at your eye, like the eyeball, okay? And they're looking at the individual eyes and their focus is shifting from one eye to the other, right? So they're not nervous or doing something weird, they're actually looking at the eyeballs. But that's why I say there's a specific strategy to doing eye contact the right way, because you don't want to be looking as if you're looking at each. I'm laughing because I've perceived this, so it's really funny. People don't notice this, but when you're doing this, when you're looking at their eyeballs, your eyes are also shifting. But you don't see that because you're thinking, oh, this is eye contact. So what you want to do is instead of actually staring at the eyeball, you stare at the nose bridge right here, kind of the top of the nose area, right between the eyes. And that's the place that you put your focus on. That way, when you focus on that area of their face, your eyes won't shift. And you won't come across as if you're kind of nervous or not sure of yourself, because all of these kind of micro expressions can communicate something different to the guy other than the confidence that we want you to come across with, okay? So we're gonna put right here, you stare at the top of the nose, and the wrong way to do it is to look at the eyeball. Very strange, but it's nuanced, right? And it's nuanced for a reason, right? When we're getting your seduction down, we're going deep into the weeds, we're getting very detailed, right? We're not doing seduction accidentally. intently. We're doing seduction intentionally and purposefully, all right? So eye contact is gonna be held throughout the duration of the conversation that you're having with him. Now, I also wanna mention to you guys something very interesting that you may or may not have heard of. I wanna talk about soft eyes. There's a way to look and gaze at someone that feels seductive versus a way to look at someone that makes them feel like panic. Remember, you're eliciting a feeling in everything that you're doing, and you're not gonna be touching him throughout the duration of what we're talking about today. So everything that your body language communicates, your facial expression communicates, your words communicate, should be making him feel something indirectly, okay, right? It's not gonna be on the nose, it's gonna be indirect, but it should communicate a feeling. So what I mean by that, soft eyes is understanding that when I look at someone, I want to look at them in a way that doesn't make them feel anxious, like I'm staring, okay? So let me give you a direct example here. I wish you guys could see my face perfectly. I could like zoom in perfectly on my face, right? This would be an example of what we consider the wrong thing, okay? Let's start off with the wrong thing. So if I'm looking at you and I'm having a conversation with you and I'm like staring like this, like really intensely, my eyes are all wide open and you can kind of see the expression on my face. I'm like spreading my eyes even more to really see what's going on. That's not going to communicate the seduction that you want to communicate, okay? And I know some of you are like, I would never do that. But what can happen is when you're nervous, you start kind of almost going wide-eyed and you start, kind of intensely being like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be focusing on your face. So as you're listening, you're looking as if you have to like take a poop or something while you're listening. But you don't realize that because you're you. So you don't see your face as he's seeing it. So soft eyes would be while you're looking at the person, right? Your eyes are a little bit lower. Think of yourself as maybe you're a little bit buzzed or a little bit high. See, this is easier when you're actually under the influence, but when you're talking to someone and you're listening to them, as you're listening to them, you want your eyes to be a little bit softer. Even in the way you blink is a little bit softer. And as you're looking into their eyes, but you're not staring, okay? And your face isn't stretched and your face isn't like cringed, right? You're just relaxed. You're cool. You're listening, you're looking into their eyes intensely, but you're not stressed out and you're not gonna be making them anxious as they're talking to you, right? Very subtle, but it communicates something very large to them. And a lot of times guys can't even understand these subtle differences, but trust me, it makes them feel different, right? They probably couldn't explain it to you, but they know that it feels different, right? So the difference between soft eyes and what we could call intense. Let's go into number 3. Let's kind of hop into our example of what we want to say. So let's imagine you're here and you're telling a guy a story. Today you have curly hair, all right? Your hair is nice and curly. And so you're telling this guy a story about how much, this is going to sound very weird, how much you love your amazing, your weighted blanket. So you're talking to this guy and you're saying, oh my God, I was going to sleep the other day and there's nothing I love more than sleeping with an amazing warm weighted blanket on top of me. Just having something big and large on top of me while I'm sleeping, it just gives me so much. Having something so large just draped on top of me while I sleep, there's no better feeling than that. I just feel so small underneath the weighted blanket. It puts me in a place that's very magical. And those of you that are mature will be like, oh, you're not really talking about a weighted blanket, are you? Obviously, you're talking about a weighted blanket and how the weighted blanket gives you a whole lot of pleasure from having something so large sitting on top of you. But he's not actually hearing you talk about a weighted blanket. When you say that and you talk about how you love this big, large blanket sitting on top of you, he's actually thinking about his own big body sitting on top of you and giving you a whole lot of pleasure, right? He's translating this, we can call it a translation, right? To, oh, you're saying you like really large, strong, beastly objects sitting on top of you. And that gives you a whole lot of pleasure. And then he might ask you, see, this is where guys kind of clue in. They're like, wait, are we talking about blankets still? They might even ask you, you like really big things sitting on top of you? And this is where you get good. Remember, they're suggestive themes. We're not actually gonna talk about anything, just the suggestiveness of it. So when he says, oh, you like big things on top of you, that's how you feel? Yeah, what's wrong with that? I can't enjoy a weighted blanket? And he's like, no, it just kind of sounds a little bit dirty. What's dirty about a weighted blanket? And this is where you play dumb, right? You play like I just suggested that I love having big, heavy weighted blankets on top of me. I don't know where you got the idea that I was talking about sex. I don't do those type of things. I'm not sure why you came to the conclusion that we're talking about you on top of me. I don't even know. I didn't even see that you're a human. You're big. I don't know. You look kind of small. I wasn't thinking about that, right? And this is where you play innocent because you're suggesting something, but you're never going to be on the nose with men. I know it sounds weird because you're thinking, but men say that they want directness. They say they like bluntness. They say they like women to tell them exactly how they feel. They don't, okay? They don't. They want you to beat around the bush, give them little breadcrumbs just for them to think to themselves, oh, are you into me? Do you like me? Do you want me? Oh, do you want this? Oh, if you want this, we can do this, okay? But you want him constantly in a place where he's decoding that information. That mental work that men have to do as they're decoding and trying to understand, are you saying something else that you're not saying here? Or is there something in the air here? That actually turns them on more because they start to feel like, oh, it's time for me to hunt. The deer is here and ready and primed for me to, everyone hold on. Wait, we got her. She's here, she wants me. Number 4, if you give him a very anxious type of energy, right? Because you're really nervous about this conversation you're having. You're really nervous talking to him and seeing him because he's so hot. You're also gonna make him feel that bit of anxiety as well. He's gonna start to feel like, oh, I'm not being seduced here. I'm actually kind of feeling the anxiety and the nervousness from you as well, right? So you're actually gonna kind of do yourself a disservice by conveying that you're super nervous and you're super on edge here. And one of the things that can happen when you're on edge like this and you're having conversation with men is you can tend to really speed up the amount that you talk because you want to get everything out in 1 second because you're kind of really nervous and so you're kind of like stumbling over your words and you don't know what to say and you don't know how to say it. So you're kind of moving a mile a minute and you're just really giving off a lot of energy that you're anxious and you gotta take a breath. Take a moment, relax yourself, understand that if he's here and he's talking to you, it's for a reason. So when you talk, even when you share things, pace yourself, right? Create a rhythm to how you speak to people, right? Especially when you're trying to seduce him. You want there to be peaks and valleys that are consistent in the way that you speak. You want it to feel like a rhythm, right? That as you talk, and as you share things with him, even as you express emotion, there's a calming pace to how you express those things. And as you have that pace, it becomes a lot less anxiety inducing and a lot more relaxing. If someone is going to be turned on by you, you want them relaxed. You want to put them in a trance. You don't want your words and your pace to feel like it's all scrambled and feel like it's going like this and communicating a feeling of nervousness and anxiety. It's the exact same reason why anytime someone wants to hypnotize another person, they immediately start talking low and slow because you're communicating a feeling that you're putting out into the air and the other person receiving that is taking that in and doing something with that. And a lot of times, if you don't set the environment for relaxation and to let go, you won't be in a place where you allow men to be turned on by you and all the other things that you're talking about, expressing, and all the feelings that you want him to feel in this conversation. The reason I say that, and the reason I said that like that while we were having this conversation about this point, is because I want you to understand how crazy that can totally change everything that you're saying. It can totally change the way that you feel as you're listening to what I'm saying. And so the importance of that cannot be understated, because if you don't understand how to pace your words and create a rhythm to the way that you talk, then the way that you come across will not be the feeling that you want to elicit inside him, right? And make him feel. Because you want him to feel like you're relaxed, like you're not in an anxious state, so that he can also continue to be relaxed and seduced by you. Because turning men on is also synonymous with seducing them, okay? They're kind of one and the same. And you can't seduce men if you're having yourself in an anxious state where your shoulders are stiff and you're talking a mile a minute, or you sound really nervous and you're stumbling over your words. It doesn't communicate seduction to men. And they're not going to be seduced by you or your energy if you're in that state, okay? So this is obviously something that you practice and not something you're going to get good at overnight. But this is why you kind of, as you go out into the dating world, and even when you meet people, whether it be at work you want to practice with people you just see around town, someone you talk to the grocery store, your friend from high school, you practice with yourself taking things a little bit slower and understanding when you want to communicate different feelings, you change the way you sit, you change the way you stand, you change the way you walk, you talk, and you express things, right? Number 5 is to touch your body. Touching your body is actually a great way to present a seduction to men that can actually turn them on. But this is a very fine line that you need to balance, because we don't want you groping yourself in public and looking very strange, okay? We want him to be seduced by you, not very nervous and concerned, like as if there's something wrong with you, okay? So, right, you can do things like you touch and stroke your hair, your neck. So what do I mean by play with items on your face or neck, right? Playing with your earrings, right? Playing with your necklace as you're looking at him and having eye contact with him, right? Or even just playing with your hair as you're looking at him or having eye contact with him. So let me even add the caveat, right? This should be withheld eye contact, okay? So as you're doing this, you don't want to be looking away from him. You want to be doing this while holding your eye contact with him, okay? Remember, soft eyes, not in a scary way, right? All of these things, this fidgeting, even though you're thinking, well, is fidgeting going to make me look nervous? No. Same way we talked about pace, you're going to do this as if you're relaxed. You're not going to fidget as if, I'm nervous, I'm so nervous, right? You're going to play with things as if you're relaxed, and as he's talking to you, you're just kind of feeling around your body, kind of touching yourself. I know it looks silly when I'm doing it, right? So what you don't want to do is you don't want to come across, you don't want to look like you have some sort of nervous tick here, right? You don't want it to be something as if you're itching something, or, you know, you're moving really fast, right? So you don't want to be fast twitching. You don't want it to make it seem as if you're nervous while doing this. We want it to be slow and slow. The same way we talked about the pace of your words is the same way we want to be doing with your body movement. Now, because when I say touch your body, I know some of you guys are thinking, well, this is about turning men on. So should I grope my own breasts, my yitties? Should I grope my dump truck? No, okay? That's going to send the wrong message, right? We want to seduce him. We want to turn him on. We also don't want to be on the nose, though. You're not going to be groping yourself, right? We want you to kind of stay up here, right? The neck, the chest area. We want you to stay up here, touch these areas, right? So some really nice places to do that. Obviously, you have the neck, right? So you can kind of, you guys know the term back scratches, right? Not actually scratching a guy's back, but you know when you do this thing, I don't know how to describe it. We need to come up with an actual word term for this. But you do this thing where you just kind of, you graze with your fingers across someone's skin. A lot of guys will say, oh, I love that when you do this, right? You just kind of graze it across the skin. You're not really scratching it. You're just kind of putting a little bit of weight on it, right? Finger grazing. Finger grazing sounds dirty, but yeah, it's kind of like that. So that's the same thing that you kind of want to be doing on your own body, right? It's even, you can consider it caressing, right? On your own body as you're talking to him, okay? And this can be something you do on the chest area. You can do it a little bit on the neck area. And you can even, if you really want to kind of do something, you can do it on the lips area, okay? When you can make men feel like sex is on the horizon, but never actually talk about it, that's when they're the most excited, okay? The worst thing you can do if you want a man to be turned on is say, let's have sex right now. I know it sounds very strange when I'm telling you the worst thing to do is to tell men, let's have sex right now, because you're thinking, well, isn't that all they think about? Isn't that all they want, Tomisin? So when I say that, wouldn't that turn them on massively? No, I don't make the rules. I can explain them to you.